Okay. Hi, I'm Tom Heiskell, and I'm a dog trainer, graduate of the Karen Pryor Academy, and actually have a PhD in clinical psych. And this is Mike Thompson. He's the director of the
Instructional Design and Media Services Department at the University of Rio Grande.
And we're here at Rio Grande, and we are talking about training and what does it mean to be your dog's leader? What's all this alpha business about, and is that necessary to be an alpha, to be an effective leader? What are we talking about? How do you get your dogs trained, and actually how do you keep out of an unnecessary battle with your dog? So
stay tuned.
All right.
Glad you could stay tuned. So we're talking about alpha dogs, or
alpha
being
people
being the alpha leader.
And doesn't that sound good?
I suppose.
I am alpha. You know, yeah. And I think some of the
just like in the what's that show on with the zombies and stuff.
Oh, I didn't see that.
No, okay. There was a person named Alpha.
Oh, okay. It was a ruler of the zombies or something.
Yeah, they become the zombies.
And so what's so attractive about being, I mean, we enjoy being with our dogs. What is so attractive about the idea of being alpha? Well,
and then there's a whole training philosophy that kind of goes along with that.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of rules and a whole bunch of behaviors, alpha rules and, and that kind of stuff and
like
so
a guy
on.
TV does.
Yeah, right.
But
yeah,
it works to an extent.
And I actually know trainers who get dogs that he has trained or the people that he has trained, and those dogs have gotten messed up. And they have to fix the problems. You don't see that on TV. Right. They have to fix the problems that he has not fixed. Life is not a TV show, but the whole idea about alpha, training is that it gives us a feeling power, and people are absolutely intoxicated over power. I mean, it's in our advertising. It's, and it's just part of who we are as a creature. We want to know, who's the boss, who's this, who's, and so forth. And then it's pretty natural that we want to have power over something or somebody, and
sometimes people that don't have power in their lives will turn to animals to exert the power on.
Right. Yeah.
You can get results from that.
Yeah.
But it's probably not the best results, or it's not the ones that you necessarily want. You can get a result, but
if you've got an animal that's more or less compliant, and animals vary in their personalities. Some dogs are like easygoing. Hey, I don't want any conflicts. Some dogs are more determined, about what they want. And
like Bernese Mountain Dogs, big lazy guys, versus a Husky who's a high energy big dog.
Right.
Or a Chihuahua or a Shih Tzu or whatever.
Yeah, right. It depends on what
they have different jobs.
Yeah, their jobs are. And if a dog is bred to be a dog who has some potential for guarding or their aggressive behavior being part of the package that you want. At least there's some dogs with their personality, with their breeding, that when you behave aggressively toward them as a training position, 3/4 of the time it's going to work. 25% of the time you're going to get a dog who is aggressive, and you've created those very problems that you wanted to avoid. So it's a real deal. But between the anybody who's training, anybody with dogs, I think we can generally agree. What are the things do you think we can agree on is important in working with dogs? You mentioned consistency.
Yeah, if you're going to do something, and it goes for your children too, that.
And most of us in our day-to-day lives together,
right. If you're a supervisor at work,
right,
you have to reward the same things, and consistency from one person to another and over time
Right.
be consistent.
You got to be predictable.
So that, you know, that's the worst thing to work for somebody that one day expects this and the next day expects
right.
the other.
It puts whoever in conflict, you know,
And
in
stress.
in stress. And I think we can also agree that dogs are social.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they tune into our emotions.
The best dog you can have, I think, is the one that trusts you.
Right.
Just like a friend who
Right.
will trust you and have your back.
Right.
The dog needs to trust you. I had one that had trust issues,
And they came to you with trust issues. They were a
Right.
rescue.
They were
and
like 2 years
they'd
old.
had a hard life, and who knows what had happened to them
Right.
beforehand.
They had bad training
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing we were talking about there is that also it's real important when a dog is younger as a puppy to socialize. Your puppy, your younger dog. Socializing, there's a window, 8 to 14, 16 weeks. That's the window when your puppy is getting used to what is normal and safe and okay
What's the
and
ways
no
of the
big
world?
deal. The ways of the world.
And if you don't do anything, socialize your dog.
Absolutely.
With other dogs, if you're going to be around cats or
Children, older
livestock,
people, livestock,
the whole age
whatever you can
gamut
kind of
of
figure,
people.
babies, you know, things that are moving, wheels, skateboards,
Yeah.
you know, whatever
Baby
you
carriages.
baby carriages. If you fail to socialize your puppy, then what you've got is a puppy or a dog later on who is whatever they have not had experience with and gotten used to, they're on alarm about.
Mm-hmm.
They're going like, what is this? This may not be
They're
safe.
going to be scared and freaked out.
Scared and freaked out and
Depending
defensive.
how they deal with it,
Right.
they can run or
Right.
they may attack it.
Right, or they may just kind of kind of ignore. You know, it's
Right.
like if I don't look at it, it's not there. Maybe it'll go away. So,
And that's the one thing that people really miss,
yeah.
especially with aggression.
When a dog's looking away,
Silence.
Yeah, right.
That stillness.
Right.
You know, it's like, well, I didn't see that coming.
Right.
Well, did you see him like freeze and
Right.
just do nothing?
Yeah, and
he was
usually-
waiting for you to like back off.
Right.
Or I'm going to get you.
Right, right. That's that freeze is the you have 1 hot second to back up.
Right.
At that point.
It's not always a bark.
Right. And if you notice it, there have been all kinds of things that have been leading up to that behavior. That dog has been trying to communicate. That dog has been looking away. That dog has been lip licking. That dog has been panting. The dog has been sniffing at stuff when there's nothing really to sniff at. That dog has been trying to diffuse that situation, and the person didn't read it. And there's a well-known TV trainer, and there's a video of this guy pushing this dog,
Golden Retriever.
golden retriever, into a corner. The dog is lip licking. The dog is turning the way away. The dog is having its weight backwards. It's doing everything.
Ears back. Like submissive.
Wait. And
Is this working for you, man?
Right.
And he's still like,
right.
You know.
And then he keeps going and going, and then the dog looks away, and then like you're talking about, there was that momentary freeze. The dog goes like this, momentary freeze, and then like that.
Right.
And then he says, "I didn't see that coming." You know, to be absolutely honest about it, the only person that would not see that coming is someone who at that stage of their understanding of dogs is unable to read dog behavior. What that dog was going through, the ways that dog was trying to avoid a conflict was clear all the way through. It was no surprise whatsoever. And he's one of the people that say, oh, you got to be alpha. You got to be alpha. Okay, but we agree, and not to say that, that everything that he says or other people that talk about being alpha, being a leader with your dog is wrong. No, I mean, there are a lot of common sense things.
Some of the things that go along with being alpha is like going through the doorway first.
Okay.
Eating first.
Yeah, right.
Staying off the furniture. I mean, you may want that anyway to like not get hair on your furniture, but It's my house. It's the dog's house. It's the way we do things.
Always be above your dog.
Right.
Don't play tug with your dog.
Right.
Don't lie on the floor with your dog. What else?
You have to be a dominant position in every situation.
And if you're looking at your dog in the eye, don't be the one to break eye contact. Stare them down if you've got eye-to-eye contact.
Roll them on their back and
roll them on the back. Yeah. And all this is an analogy. Let me see if there's something else here.
Bullying your dog into submission?
Yeah, this that kind of business and so forth.
This is kind of a bite.
Yeah, fake bite, Okay. Well, there's a fact that, if dogs are kept, puppies are kept with their litter long enough, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, or so, that's good. You don't want them taken out of their litter and away from their mom, at 6 weeks or something like that. And some of these dogs who are, in the puppy mills, and they're in the pet stores, if they're there at 7 weeks or 8 weeks, chances are they've been transported. They've
Oh yeah.
So
half the states away.
Yeah, right, right.
In Ohio, where we are, Missouri is a place.
Missouri,
where come
right,
from.
right. And anyhow, though, what puppies will learn when they're with their moms and when they're with their litters, they'll learn bite inhibition from other puppies. They'll also learn some manners with their mom. Their moms, at some point, if a puppy gets a little too much, the mom's going to go, "Hey, Junior, back off," And but that's not something that we have to mimic their moms, in doing. Okay. So we agree, and we agree with it's common sense. Dogs need training. If you don't train a dog, what's a dog do?
It's like your children. If you gave your children no limits and no rules, rules or limits, what are they going to do?
Yeah, or even people, as we've seen in the some people who have great wealth. I mean, if they have no limits, they can do absolutely what they want. They go to excesses. So limits are important. Without training, what do you get? Dogs do what would be regular canine behavior. They're going to pull to get where they want. They're going to scrounge for food. They're going to dig. They're going to run off. They're going to bark. They're going to chew on things. They're going to go to the bathroom wherever they don't eat or sleep. That's just they're going to jump up. All that is normal canine behavior. Jumping up is just part of saying hello. They greet one another. Face kissing is something that puppies do because that's and wolves they lick they lick the side of their mom's mouths, and moms give them food or they regurgitate. So it's normal canine behavior. So what do you do? How do you train that? And there are extremes. There are some people, and you were talking about people particularly with maybe small dogs. Their training idea is if you just love little Fifi,
this
unconditionally.
Usually goes, the stereotype would be the little old lady with the dog you could put in her handbag.
Yeah.
And they are always carrying it around. They don't really have any rules. It sits on the table when they're eating and whatever. Somebody new comes in the house, and you gotta understand Fifi. She might bite you if you try and touch me or whatever. And
right. And chances are very good. Fifi was never socialized to people, was never socialized to getting, to attention from other people, was never socialized to be on the floor and let their owner simply talk with, and so
it's not your baby, it's a dog, just like a Doberman.
Right, and that gets, I think that's an interesting point on this, is that people, when they're projecting their own needs onto dogs, then they're going like, oh, little Fifi's just wonderful, and they love little Fifi, and they don't have any limits for little Fifi. And then also on the other side of things, is people projecting human conflicts and human needs and human struggles onto their dogs, where they say everything with a dog is a battle line. Everything with a dog is a struggle for control, and you've got to
They're trying to get the alpha away from me. I have to show them who's boss. Or they're going to show me who's boss.
Or they're going to dominate me,
Right.
And probably these are people that are not particularly feeling comfortable with sharing back and forth, with cooperative behavior. To them, it's a zero-sum game. Either you're the one kicking or you're the one getting kicked. And
the best leaders are the most confident, and the ones that don't do that.
Right.
They're confident in their own abilities, and they don't have to show you,
Right.
hey, I'm boss.
Right.
They show you they're boss because they're a leader.
Right. And as a matter of fact,
consistent with
that's what really brings up a great thing. Is like, how do wolves? This whole thing got started by a guy named David Meck.
Like pack behavior.
He was watching unnatural groups of wolves. He wasn't looking at groups of wolves that in their normal environment. He was looking at a bunch of wolves thrown together, and you've got no bonds between these animals. It's just it's a free-for-all situation. But so that's
and
where
they have to figure out who's boss dog.
Yeah, if
it's a family, we all know Grandpa. He's going to be the leader for a while until Dad takes over, because he's got
Well, and actually on that point, I'm gonna that really brings up a great thing is what happens in dog family groups, because packs are dog family groups. So the David Meck has gone back and looked at actual wolves in the wild, and here's what he's found, and other people have studied him, that seasoned leaders of wolf packs actually survey from near the back of the pack when traveling. They're not out ahead. In times of scarcity, the leaders allow the young to eat first. Well, that's mom and dad, and they've got their, wolves. They've got their offspring that are, 1 and 2 years old, and then they've got the cubs from that year. There is an absence of reports of wolves looking to get, on top of some stump, to be physically higher than the other wolves in the group. When wolves are hunting in a family group, oftentimes it's the younger wolves that are out ahead because they're getting practice. The whole object of that deal is that these are the young. They're learning how to survive. If the mom and dad, the breeding pair, said, "Hey, look, everything's going to be my way. You stay the heck back and don't make a move.
I'll give you everything until I die. Then where are you going to be?"
Yeah, then those offspring don't make it. They haven't learned how to be competent. And so the experts who study wolf behavior describe the role of wolf leaders, their parents, their guiding, their teaching, their caring for pack members. And when wolves mature, which they sexually mature later than dogs, that's one area where they mature more slowly, they don't compete to overthrow the pack leader. Instead, what they do is they go off and they find, some other wolf, and they start their own family. And so the boys will go out, and they'll kind of stay on the edge of some other group of wolves that has a 2 or 3 year old female wolf, and they'll go, "Hello there," and she'll say, "Well, Mom and Dad, I'll be back."
Pretty nice howl over there.
Pretty nice howl over there. But that's what they do. There's no battle to the death.
They're more humane than we are.
Yeah, well, I mean, they do what they need to do. They don't, they eat what they need to eat. Okay, and so.
Okay, so we've got about 8.5 minutes
All
left.
right, well, we're moving along.
So what do we?
Yeah.
Instead of being pack leaders, how do we train
a dog without domination.
Okay. Well, I think I want to stay with some of the
wolf behavior.
the wolf stuff.
Okay.
Okay, because some of the stuff is that the rule supposedly for alpha is don't let the dog walk ahead of you. If they're ahead of you in a walk, they'll walk all over you in other areas of your relationship. Okay, that's a simple rule, right? Don't play. You gotta
Tug of war.
Yeah, don't play tug of war. Always make sure you go through a doorway first. Make sure you eat before your dog does. Don't let your dog up on the furniture or the bed because they're in an elevated position.
Or that's your sacred place and you have to be down. Right?
If you establish eye contact with the dog, the dog has to be, you're up and they're down. If you establish eye contact, the dog must avert their gaze first. Okay, well on that's a misreading of what actually happens between a dog and a person that dog trusts. That when a person and that dog trust, they are willing to make eye contact. When they make eye contact, their levels of a bonding hormone, which occurs between mothers and babies and
dogs don't
partners
normally
who
look
care.
at you.
Right, because that's a threat behavior. When they do look at you, it means they trust you. And
Like my Oliver will look at me for over a minute.
Yeah,
We
right.
can lock eyes for
And they
a
like
minute.
it, right? And there's a limit,
Sure.
Just like staring
It's
at
just
someone.
uncomfortable.
There's some sort of point at which, even for a dog, it's
Okay,
like
it's getting weird
"Yeah,
now."
this is getting weird. Yeah, that's enough. We're good. But their level of oxytocin will go up. That bonding chemical. All right, people who say that this is an alpha struggle say, hey, that dog is sizing you up. I've got your number. Your day is coming. When that dog is actually feeling close to you and feeling comforted and so forth.
And
so,
now you've destroyed the trust if you push him.
If the dog is looking at you going like, I'm comfortable, I'm glad you're here, I'm glad I'm here, and you go hard looking at this, this dog, the dog's going to go, I just don't understand what happened,
Yeah.
So then you're going to take
I was
that
like trying to be cool, and now you're like giving me the look.
Yeah, and you want your dogs to make eye contact. That's one of the first things you train, is eye contact. So when, if you have them looking at you, then you have their attention, and then you can give them an instruction.
That's one thing I kind of trained with Ulrich, who was a very shy boy.
Right.
Was trying to get him to look at me, and I was one of the only people he would really look at. In the eye.
Right.
And then I'd try and get him a little bit longer, because he was shy and backwards, and gaining his trust. And not for domination.
Right. And that is a part of a bond that makes the dog want to be with you. And when you're out walking, that dog will check in with you. If the dog's walking out ahead of you, or if you're walking out in front, the dog will go, hey, you still here?
Right.
Or if you're walking out in front, they're going to be keeping their eye, they're going to be checking in with you. And
that's interesting with the walking part, because I lead. When I had Ulrich and Riley and Oliver, Ulrich, the older Bernese, would be behind me, left or right.
Right.
Oliver, a younger one, only a year, would be up front with Riley. And then when we lost Ulrich, who was back here with me, Oliver took up the back, watching my back over here, and the other dog will be out front.
Okay, and they've got that sort of like, we're together, we're part of a social group here.
And walking is a big bonding thing. For dogs.
It is, and so
best thing you can do with the dog is walk.
Yeah, and a structured walk where the dog is walking at your side, that's a good thing. And we'll talk about how do you get behaviors we agree on. The alpha people, actually set up conflict with people and their dogs. When the dog does something, it's a behavior that's a problem behavior. That sets up that person, feeling aggressive toward that dog. I've got to show you, who's what. And that, it actually takes a person out of the frame of mind of how do I train this behavior, and there's one solution, and that's showing the dog who's boss. Well, we'll talk about how to train here, and the dogs do learn who controls resources, and we are the ones who socialize them. We are their teachers, we are their leaders. We teach them how to cooperate and communicate and how to get along in a human world, but we don't do that by teaching them, you have to stay right under my thumb, or I'm gonna at you, or I'm going to roll you on your back. And that's another point, is that wolves do not hardly ever go after some other animal and roll them on their back. If some other animal is being aggressive, or pushy, and that parental wolf says, hey, that's enough, the going on their back is an offered behavior. It's an appeasement behavior. It's not something.
Not a threat.
Okay. Yeah, they've put themselves on their back. And so for a person to put a dog on its back is a flat. That's a flat out attack. And a dog at that point has a choice. Do they give in? Which is the only safe thing to do, or do they fight? And if they fight, what they are is a dead dog. And so we've pretty much eliminated dogs from the gene pool who are apt to want to fight, even no matter how outrageous our behavior is, because we euthanize them.
Imagine if you went to a dinner party or something, and everybody you came in contact with, you're like,
right.
You're gonna break the stare.
Yeah, you're gonna. Yeah.
I'm the bad dude here.
Right. Well, and there are some people that
everybody like, who's this guy?
Yeah, and there's some people that kind of like they're dominant. They're kind of like they're occupying a lot of space, and they're the ones who hold your hand too hard and too long, and it's kind of
like the Trump thing.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. Or some other people that just kind of let me go, but they're making a point that they have physical control. They're making the eye contact and all that sort of stuff, and by and large, hey, that may work when you're in some environments, but it doesn't cut it for most social. So most of our social lives, it's like you're a jerk, and you better be writing a big check to make being around you worthwhile. So anyway, so we'll do part 2 here.
So stay tuned for another episode. We'll continue with the alpha dog and training, not using the alpha behaviors, and being friendly and gaining trust of your dog. So stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you.